let's begin with a pile of kittens purring. Foster kitties are still here and very sweet, and I love them. Hello, and welcome back. This is my podcast, What is Going On Anyway, where I take a look at the new and full moon. So every 2 weeks, I come back and I make a report. I check in. I see what's going on. I'm really curious about what's going on for me and how it relates to my outer world, the way I see it, and also to other people's worlds. I am an intuitive, and I often try to reach out for meaning around these full and new moon times to see if I can share some kind of insight that might help myself and others. This is the new strawberry moon. This is the new moon of my birthday. And that's not why this is a special new moon, but this is a special new moon because there's some kind of beginning happening that means this is the inside coming out and establishing a newness of letting some kind of thing that you I'm trying not to say it that way. Some kind of new thing that I have always held inside of me, or think of something that you've always held inside of you, of a knowing that this is the way that you are, but that you somehow have to civilize it in order to have it be received on the outside. We've all been conditioned this way. It's very rare if you haven't been conditioned this way. And there's something about this new moon that says, actually, that thing that you've kept private and sacred to your own self is needed also in the world. It is a way that the world is needing, the world is needing to receive you, or waiting, or ready. And I don't mean it at all in any kind of conventional way. It could be just that there is a tree that's waiting to hear your story. You know, sometimes it's hard for me to get out of my own mind of what I think. Well, you know, if you listen to the last podcast, you know I was really struggling with who I thought I needed to be versus who I actually am, and feeling a lot of discord and friction around that. This new moon is come to heal that a little bit for me and for all of us. And this new moon is saying, actually, it's just a lot simpler than you thought it was going to be. The relief or the release or the resolution that we are seeking is right there for us. I want to say it in a way that I don't want to say it. It's right behind the curtain. It's beyond the veil. And I don't want to use that language because it feels like it's been used in a lot of sort of spiritual circles. And it feels a little bit like spiritual bypassing, like all of the troubles that you see here, don't even worry about them, because beyond the veil is the new life and the new era and heaven on earth and whatnot. Maybe that's true. The way I'm seeing it is that we are in the soil of all of everything, all of the yucky stuff and the difficult stuff and the things that we do not say to each other. That's a kind of muck. And we're inside of it, and then we're going to sprout out through that. There's no beyond the here. It's a sprouting through the muck and letting all of the things nourish us. So, like I said, what are the things that you don't say? It's a nice thing to think about. No, it's not a nice thing to think about. It's a useful thing to think about. What are the conversations I'm not having? I didn't originate that. I think that one comes from a class I took with Kasia Urbaniak when I was doing a course on women's power. What are the conversations that you're not having with people? Those, I can think of 3 right now. And without having to take action on that, just knowing and bringing my consciousness to light of the conversations that I'm not having, it really helps me understand my own energy patterns and the way that I have to effort in order to not say certain things. And I think that's a good thing. I'm not saying that I should be having those conversations. I think it's useful to have restraint sometimes, but it's really super useful to use restraint plus consciousness about what and why I'm not having those conversations. Okay, so that kind of stuff is the muck of reality. It's the muck of the life that we've found ourselves inside of. And then through that muck, there seems to be, this is the picture of this new moon, is a kind of sprouting of originalness. And I mean originalness, not like you've worked to create this original, innovative, like I went to art school and I'm so original. I mean this essential way of being, of receiving the world because it's coming through your unique, original perspective. We have eyes that see, and we think that we're all seeing the same things, but it comes with the layers of our experience, and the layers of our experience enrich what we're seeing. They color what we're seeing. We see it a very unique way, each of us. And so it's quite interesting to move into the act of listening to each other. And we hardly ever do that, right? Let me list out. This comes way back from Rasa Yoga days. So when we did the Rasa Yoga teacher training, Ketul pulled up, and he probably pulled it up from his Kripalu Yoga days, a list of all the ways that we do not listen to each other. And I'd like to share some of those because I think it's really curious to watch how actively we work in order not to listen to each other. Okay, I found it. This is my Rasa Yoga teacher training binder, which I keep with me, and I love it. Okay, blocks to listening. There are 12 blocks to listening. There are probably more. And you will find that some are old favorites that you use over and over. I'm just reading directly from this. Remember when we used to get handouts? This handout, and it doesn't say exactly where it comes from. Comparing. Comparing makes it hard to listen because you're always trying to assess who is smarter, more competent, more emotionally healthy, you or the other. Some people focus on who has suffered more, who's a bigger victim. You can't let much in because you're too busy seeing if you measure up. I can't read all of these. It's going to take too much time. The second block to listening is mind reading. Third is rehearsing. 4, filtering. You listen to some things and not to others. You pay only enough attention to see if somebody's angry or unhappy, or if you're in emotional danger. Judging. If you prejudge someone as stupid, nuts, or unqualified, you don't pay much attention to what they say. You've already written them off. 6, being right. 7, dreaming, half listening, half dreaming. You're gone and then you return a few minutes later. 8, identifying. In this one, you take everything a person says and you refer it back to your own experience. Advising. You're a great problem solver, ready to help with suggestions, or in my case, intuitive hits. It's a problem. 10, sparring. This block has you arguing and debating with people. 11, derailing. This listening block is accomplished by suddenly changing the subject. You derail the train of conversation when you get bored or uncomfortable. Another way of derailing is joking it off. It means that you continually respond to whatever is said with a joke or a quip in order to avoid the discomfort. 12, placating. Right, absolutely. I know, of course you are. Incredible. Yes, really? You want to be nice, pleasant, and supportive, and you want people to like you. So you agree with everything. So these blocks are really useful to think about ways that we don't listen. And sometimes we think those techniques of blocking listening is the way that we listen. And so it's worth just taking a look at that. Because truly listening, taking time, you might think a bit about it as breathing. You might think about it as breathing while another person is talking, really trying to occupy your space and breathing and being present and letting yourself listen the way you might listen to the ocean. You're just being, the way you might listen to birdsong or listen to the clouds. We can do that with each other and make more space. It requires a kind of grounded center, safe place inside. And that's something that we've been developing. That's something that I've been developing. Holding a space for my own grounded center to take prominence in my life. And there's so many ways that I push it away. Say, not now, maybe later. Maybe if I'm good enough, I'll let myself have the moments of being inside myself, really enjoying myself. And that's one of the things that I talked about, I think 2 podcasts ago. I was saying I'm trying to take an hour to be, and I find it so challenging. I was talking to my sister about this, and she was like, well, I'm doing it differently, and I am taking something that I believe I have to do anyway and enjoying it, which is a huge exercise. And I'm wondering for myself, I'm taking it in the direction of who am I if I don't have any doing? Who am I as a human being? And I'm finding it perplexing. What am I as a human being not doing? Time goes really slowly for me when I practice that. So I recommend practicing being when you feel that urgency, that constant urgency of needing to do. Although, honestly, if you're on that consciousness wheel of needing to do, it's going to be really hard to step off to the side and be. It'll feel really agitatingly uncomfortable. Perhaps, maybe. I think what I'm getting at, if this new moon is a new beginning, meaning that there are these little sproutlets of originality that don't have to remain on the inside, that can come to the outer sheaths of being, it's a good time to listen to some of those original ways of being. It's a good time to actually listen to each other. We can be, I am so exhausted by old ways of being, I'm so exhausted by ways people are oppressing each other. It's exhausting. And I'm looking for some new way of getting through these times. And I'm wondering if this new moon is the beginning of listening to some of those new and deeply original ways of being that can create some kind of innovation. So we're not just recycling pain, that somehow there's a real transformation. That's like my wish and dream. The other part of this new moon is a new way of engaging with discipline. And let me pull up this Krishnamurti quote about discipline. I think this is really good because discipline is not what we think it is. Just like work should be our joy, the way that we labor in the world should be connected into the things that we love. Like that's the way I imagine happiness, is engaging in labor that I find deeply meaningful.
The word discipline means to learn, not to conform, not to suppress, not to imitate, but to learn. Now, in our thinking together, we're going to observe whether there can be an action in our daily life without this quality of conformity, without this quality of imitation to a pattern, to an idea, to a nationalism, and so on and so on. I hope you're following all this. For some, this may be totally new, so please have the goodness to listen. To listen implies that you are interested in trying to find out. You know, you have listened to yourself probably many times. You have listened to others, but one always listens partially. And when you listen partially, you don't listen at all. When you listen, you listen. Right? Now we're going to find out why man has submitted himself to a series of disciplines, not only in the physical world, technological world, but also psychologically. And is this discipline helping man to free himself from his idiosyncrasies, his conflicts, his problems, his relationship, and so on? You understand? Right? Or you all very hot?
I think you just said, are you all very hot? Looking left, looking down, looking up.
Can one listen without effort first? Not to the speaker only, but to learn the art of listening. Which means not creating an image about the speaker, about the person who is speaking, your wife, your husband, and so on. Not to have an image when you are listening. Right? Not to have a concept. Not to hold on to one's own knowledge and say, as you listen, interpret what is being said according to your knowledge. All this denies actual listening. If you want to see something very clearly, you must give your attention. Attention implies not concentration, just observation, to see what is actually happening. Like a good scientist, looking through a microscope, he must look what is actually taking place. But if he has a hypothesis, a conclusion, with that he is looking, then he is incapable of pure observation of what is going on. Right? Please. Therefore, there is the art of listening, the art of observing, seeing. Then there is the art of thinking together.
Okay, then he goes on to talk about thinking together. What I didn't include in the very beginning is he said, he gave an anecdote around soldiers being the most disciplined, and that discipline for soldiers engages the act of suppressing one's personality, one's desires, and conforming to a pattern in order to enact violence. He was saying that's the way that we have thought about discipline in our lives, and that discipline really is the act of being a disciple or a learner, and that in order to have discipline, we must actually listen. I'm going to link this if you want to watch it. What's amazing to me is that I decided in the moment to pull this Krishnamurti quote. I did not know that it was all about listening. I was looking more for the idea of discipline, so I sort of got goosebumps when he started talking about listening after I didn't. Look, that's just me being like happy with my own self. That feels, this is the moment where I can receive my own recognition and that feeling of being at the right time in the right place. Whenever we get that, or that comes up for you and for me, it's worth taking a moment, a breath of receiving it. It's not conceited to receive your own pleasure in being inside of your life and feeling the rightness of it. Or maybe it is, like maybe there's nothing wrong with that. So let's get back to this discipline before I run out of time with you, which is this new moon is saying there is a kind of discipline that is not hard, but that requires your attention, and that there's a kind of insistence. There's like a strong line, like a foot down, which is you must listen to and engage with your originality. Your originality includes your innocence. It includes your self that is not suppressing personality, that is not suppressing desires, that is not conforming to any pattern, any outside pattern. You may fit into outside patterns because there's so many of us. You will find other people whose original voice sounds like and harmonizes with your own. But we have to listen to ours first, sequentially. And that's what this new moon is all about, making a little bit of space for these sprouts that are emerging from inner to outer, to give ourselves some space to observe without judgment, observe without what did he say? Like without having a hypothesis. Can we pay attention, listen to ourselves, and create the discipline around that is the willingness to listen. And so for me, I'm going back into that, giving myself a certain amount of time inside of my regular life that includes a lot of schedules and a lot of other people's schedules. Scheduling my own time in becomes the conventional way that I think about discipline, is blocking off time for myself. So I won't be interrupted. I won't put it off. I won't let it be for some time when I've completed all of my tasks or my to-do lists, but that it is part of the cycle of everyday life, the listening. And that's what this new moon is giving us. The time is now, and we have to turn our listening ears on. Somebody's got to listen for the little sproutlets coming from the inside to the outside. So shall we turn to the I Ching? And what else could we know about this moment? What will help us understand this new strawberry moon and give us something more to, I want to say sink our teeth into, something more to consider about this particular new moon time? We get 10, treading. We haven't gotten this one in a while, but we have gotten this one. Remember, where is the tiger? Treading, which is conduct. Do you know how to work with such power? Now, I don't think that I'm supposed to answer the question, where is the power? Where is the tiger? But isn't it within us? Do we know how to work with this power that's coming from inner to outer? There are tigers in the outer world and also inner tigers. As you get close, it's good to recognize the tiger for what it is. Treading the tiger's tail is perilous, and I would say both on the inside and the outside. You don't want to tread on your inner tiger tail. Do you? You don't want to get your inner tiger mad. Yet, if you can move in harmony with it, you can invite its power into your own life as protection, fertility, creativity, and blessing. To do this without getting bitten requires both skill and care. Look to the power and intensity you're drawn to in the situation. Its specific danger is there, and also its potential gift. I just want to say very specifically to this moment when I'm asking you to notice your inner self emerging, and that is a deeply powerful thing. It feels like the same image that I had a while ago where I was holding these golden orbs in my hand. This power of you have a say here. And when you are aligned, you are integrated with your self, grounded into the earth, and you speak out, you're speaking with such a deep authority. You're speaking from, this is what I know, from the inside to the outside. And that is a kind of power that we're not used to feeling and exerting. So this is that inner tiger. And we want to do it the right way with a lot of intention and the ability to really listen. Now let's think about this. Any of you who are artist identified, we have sometimes used our inner power to our creativity for purposes that aren't aligned with us. We'll like to tap into it, like to mine that inner creativity, and then it's extracted and commodified maybe, or just sent off in directions that don't return back to the source. And that is the kind of action that we're trying to disrupt. So we're trying to stay inside our bodies, integrated with our inner self, integrated with our outer self, and then tap into that creative power of what it means to speak up for ourselves and to take action in the world that doesn't misalign us on the inside. That's huge. It's not easy to do that. We have to listen without expectation to those. I'm going to keep calling them the little sproutlets because I keep seeing sprouts coming out of the muck. Does that make sense? Let me see if I can recap that. What I'm trying to say about that last bit is that we sometimes listen with a hypothesis of I can use this for that, or somebody else wants me to use this for that, and I'm going to do that for my own safety or to align with something that I think will make me safer, where the actual safest place to be is to be aligned inner and outer all the way through. And like I keep pointing my hand straight down into the earth, to be aligned wherever you find yourself located on this planet and aligned there and speaking for that point of view. That's the most powerful place we could be. And it's a huge gift. And that's why I think we got treading, conduct. How do you engage with your power in that way? The power of who you actually are. It moves to hexagram 43, deciding. What do you stand for? How do you define yourself? What belongs in your realm? And where do you need to make a clean break? I imagine if we spend some time with conduct, with treading, we naturally move into deciding. The old Chinese character for deciding shows a hand holding up a token, asserting your identity and right to be heard, even in the king's chambers. This is where decision begins, at the very center of power. That center might be inside your own mind and yet still not feel safe. Declaring the truth loud and clear is dangerous. It stirs up old ghosts, inner and outer. Yet better this than ignoring and neglecting them. As the message of the decision spreads out from the center of your being, it is fruitless to take up arms. This is a time to communicate, not fight. It will serve you better to focus with clear intention on what you're moving towards rather than what you're reacting against. Again, it feels like a call to listening. So as each of us aligns in our center and has the courage to speak for what's really true inside of ourselves, there are a lot of old ghosts stirred up, especially if we've been subjected to a lot of that kind of discipline that Krishnamurti is talking about, where the discipline equals suppressing one's personality, suppressing one's desires, and conforming to an outer pattern. We see that, right? And then somebody who believes in suppressing personality in order to control circumstances is going to try to do that to others. We're moving away from that. We're moving away from that. Isn't that a relief? It's a relief. Okay, that's our time together. Thank you for being here and for listening and for coming back again. The next moon will be the full strawberry moon, and we'll see where we are then. You can always reach out to me at www.annheadley.com. At the moment, I'm still on Patreon, www.patreon.com/watermoonstudios. You can see links in the show notes. May you be well. May you know peace. May all beings, whether known to me and us or not, or unknown, may they be well. May they know peace. Bye for now.